What's up, A to Z Sports live on a Thursday. Gonna have a good show talking about regurgitating breakfast in the chat already from Alex on YouTube in the waiting room this morning because he saw a picture of Jon Robinson. But that's a little harsh. But today, a good topic, I think, that was presented by the Tighten Up Podcast Twitter account. A poll about how the Titans cleanup job is going 1 full year after the firing of former Titans GM Jon Robinson. That 1 year anniversary was yesterday, December 6th. Today, December 7th. We'll see what it looks like when it comes to 1 year after the fact and what the Titans have done, what they haven't done, and figure out where this cleanup job is at to this point. We'll get to that, but I think we're gonna start off with some Will Levis conversation, Jack. To talk about what is the best quality and the best trait that Will Levis has after he said that Sunday against the Colts was his worst game as a Titans quarterback. Always the magic bucket will wrap up this Thursday show. Jack, welcome in. Hope you're doing a good job. I hope you're ready to roll here. Matt says the stash is back, so you're doing a good job with that stash growth here as we are in December. Jack, what's up? How's it going?
Yeah, going well. About as well as it can be with Titans playing the way that they are. But I want to remind everyone who's filing in the show right now, if you're watching on Facebook, let's share the show. Share that thing to your Titans Facebook groups. Let's grow the audience. We want to hear from you guys in the chat. I know all of y'all have opinions about Jon Robinson and where the Titans stand 1 year after his departure. We'll get into that here in a little bit, as Austin said. But if you're watching on YouTube, I urge you to tap the bell icon at the top of your screen and turn your notifications on. You do not want to miss anything that we post on our YouTube page. A to Z Sports will keep you covered throughout the day, every day on YouTube with their Titans content that they have. And finally, if you're watching on Twitch, text that Twitch link to your Titans text groups. Text it to your family members. Text it to your loved ones. Let's get everybody in here. And Austin, let's have a good show today. Let's get the show on the road.
And Andre says, Jack is looking presentable today. Good job, buddy.
Means a lot from Andre.
Let's do it officially. Welcome to the A to Z Sports, powered as always by BetMGM. We are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, and we go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline, and also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. I'm Austin Stanley. We're here with Jack Gentry of the Tighten Up Podcast. And so got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. WilsonCountyHyundai.com is where to go to make them a part of your new car buying process, or see them in Lebanon. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans, get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans at fbhp.com/ATOZ. The Aura app, protecting your information online, and get a 2-week free trial with our link, aura.com/ATOZ. And Krebs Kubota, an elite Kubota dealer with 3 great locations in the mid-state, Columbia, Franklin, and in Murfreesboro. They're online at KrebsKubota.com. So, Jack, you guys, I think it was Austin Huff, you said, put out a poll on the Tighten Up Podcast X account, Twitter account, of kind of going and rating the job 1 year. The Titans are rating the Titans 1 year after the firing of Jon Robinson. There are 4 options in that Twitter X poll, but we're going to get to that here in a little bit because we're going to start off with Will Levis's self-criticism of his game against the Indianapolis Colts, calling it the worst game that he has played as a Tennessee Titans quarterback. That was Sunday, right after the game was over in that press conference. But let's hear from Will Levis when asked about that again Wednesday at his regular press conference as Titans starting quarterback, on how he had a chance to reflect on that game against Indy.
For the game, you criticized the play and saying it's probably one of my worst games here in the Titans uniform. After looking at the tape, you feel the same way?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I just think that, there were just certain throws that really I felt like could have changed the outcome of drives or games that I missed. And sure, I mean, maybe made better plays as a whole than comparison to some of the other games that I played, but I was just more so looking at the missed opportunities. So definitely still a little disappointed, but I think going back and watching it, Denver's bad as you think it is, and felt like I, took a lot from it.
Mike said that he wants you to push the ball down the field. but not put it in harm's way. How do you feel like you've done with that so far versus maybe taking the safer throw that's there?
I think I've done a good job with it. I mean, just continuing to assess what I feel like is appropriate for the situation. I think that's one of the improvements I've made, just even going back to even in college, just how I'm seeing it, assessing the risk, and making the throw when I feel like it's necessary or applicable to the situation. So definitely areas to improve in there and how I'm seeing everything, but I just need to keep, doing a good job of protecting the football.
Would you say like your inaccuracy has been on the good side of the spectrum in that you haven't put the ball in a lot of danger and the interceptions on?
For sure.
There?
Yeah, I think I've been relatively pleased with how the balls came out of my hand, and I think just that knee-jerk reaction on Sunday was just felt like, just wasn't coming out as accurately or wasn't putting it in the spots that I was wanting to as often as I wanted to,
So there's Titans quarterback Will Levis saying, yeah, he agreed. It's still the worst game he's played in 6 games. Jack, do you agree? What do you think is the worst game that Will Levis has played in 6 as the Titans starter?
Well, I think that Will Levis is taking this approach because, he's played worse games, but it hadn't necessarily been his fault, right? He hadn't had the proper time to throw in some of those games where he started early. The offensive line was just backpedaling into him pretty much in his lap for, the entire Tampa Bay Bucs game. I don't think it was his worst game because, look, he didn't turn the ball over. He threw a touchdown pass. I think he had like around a 90 quarterback rating, which isn't great, but isn't bad. I don't think it was his worst, but look, he definitely left some meat on the bone. There were throws he could have made. There were some crossing routes, some third down throws where it didn't seem like he really stepped into it, but it's all part of the process. What I do like about him is that he's his biggest critic, right? You can tell that he wants to win. He's not complacent. We see a lot of young quarterbacks. Justin Fields is an example in Chicago where when things are going wrong around him, like Will Levis could easily point the finger at the offensive line or at Chig or Traylon Burks for dropping passes. Justin Fields has done that from time to time, blame the offensive coordinator. You don't see that with Will Levis. He takes full accountability for what his part is on the field. And we saw just on Sunday, kind of his will to win. And it feels like it's at that elite competitiveness level that we see some of the top quarterbacks in the NFL play at, where, he makes a mistake. He immediately sprints to try and make up for it, ends up falling on a loose football and gets rewarded. It's just little things like that Will Levis does that is going to only help him with this fan base, but more importantly, with the locker room and trusting him and believing in him as, the cornerstone of this franchise, which a lot of people are hoping that he will be moving forward.
Yeah, so technically, Will Levis did turn the ball over once, but he immediately got it back and turned it into a fresh set of downs. So it was actually a positive by turnover, technically there. So, when I think of like what was Will Levis's worst game, I honestly think it was the game the week before against the Carolina Panthers. That's where I felt like he left a lot out there, a lot of meat on the bone of not being able to go, make certain plays. I think what I do agree with Will Levis about is that in his maybe 2 worst performances, which were the Panthers game, and then I guess if we want to throw the Colts game in there, it's his worst game because of missed opportunities, not because of mistakes made, but because plays that he didn't make that were there. I think against Carolina, there was a clear and obvious touchdown throw down the field to D-Hop that was missed in the second half. There was a couple others that were missed in that game. Then against the Colts, he took 6 sacks. I don't know the exact number on it, but I feel like 3 of them were because Levis was holding on to the football and not letting it loose. And that was more of a coverage sack or a Levis sack rather than an O-lineman getting beat to give up that sack too. So I think missed opportunities. He was under 50% completion rate against the Colts, 16 of 33. It's not great. Some of those were throwaways that he had to have happen, like dumping it at the feet of Tyjae Spears on a failed screen attempt. Others were totally his fault by not throwing the football in a catchable area for DeAndre Hopkins on a 3rd and long go route, or, things like that. And I'm like, all right, at least give your guy an opportunity to draw a pass interference. And then speaking of pass interferences, a couple of his incompletions were on plays where DeAndre Hopkins was clearly held and they did not get called by the officials. So I definitely think Carolina was a worse performance compared to the Colts game. He threw a touchdown when they needed to have a touchdown late in that game in the fourth quarter, went down there, put a drive together, threw a touchdown pass to DeAndre Hopkins, and then it came up a little bit short in overtime, unable to score a touchdown and being forced to settle for a field goal, where then you lost the game. But Will Levis, I think, played well enough to keep the Titans in contention. It was a wacky game from every type of angle, as we've talked about.
Yeah, isn't it interesting that he's saying this after the Titans scored 28 points, which is tied for the most points that they've scored since Levis took over, with the win against the Falcons at home. Obviously, that game went much better than the game did Sunday.
Since 2021 season. It's the most points they've scored since the 2021 season.
And he's still not satisfied. He's actually upset with himself. That's what I want to see out of the Titans quarterback. That's, if we want to turn the page and evolve into a high-scoring offense, then the quarterback has to feel like putting up 30 not every Sunday, but any given Sunday is a possibility. And Will Levis clearly believes that if everything goes right, the sky is the limit for the Titans offense. And, they're hindered by the offensive line and, kind of lack of talent at skill positions. But it's good to see that Will Levis isn't satisfied with 28 points. He knows he can do better. I think that he can do better. And hopefully we start to see that down the stretch. They got some tough matchups. But I just like, there's a lot of tangible stuff to fall in love with Will Levis. The deep ball, he's improved in the short to medium range throws over the last few weeks, but it's the intangible stuff that I'm really impressed about. It seems like he's got great command of the offense. He went at DeAndre Hopkins, and a lot of people kind of were uncomfortable with that, but I think that that's a sign that, he feels comfortable enough to get on to D-Hop if they're not on the same page, which, even though he's much younger and much less established than DeAndre Hopkins is in this league, they're trying to win. They're doing everything they can to win. He's not afraid. He won't back down. And, I just feel like there's a tenacity with Will Levis back there at quarterback that the Titans hadn't necessarily had. I believe that he has that killer instinct that we saw with Ryan Tannehill in 2019 and 2020, that we saw with Steve McNair. But, how can he turn that into efficiency? That's the next step in this whole development process.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I agree. All right, so let's get to our first question of the day before we dive in to our full 1 year post J-Rob firing. We'll talk about the poll question that's out there on the Tighten Up Pod Twitter account after 1 year of Jon Robinson's firing. But let's talk about Will Levis a little bit more. What's the best quality Will Levis has shown in his 6 games as the Titans starter? What's the best quality that Will Levis has shown in his 6 games as the Titans starting quarterback? But first, let me tell you guys all about our friends at the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know where to go and who you can trust to get you back to health, to not let that injury be a hindrance with your social life, your family life, your work life. In the Bone and Joint Institute, they've got all of that because they have all the experts and the resources in one building right there in Franklin, Tennessee. So no more different addresses around town because you got to go get your imaging here, your x-ray there, your rehab there, and maybe if you need a surgery, it's in a different building too. All of it, one place, the Bone and Joint Institute. It's so easy to get to, right off of I-65 and Murfreesboro Pike in Franklin, boneandjointtn.org.
BetMGM is your place, your one-stop shop for all your sports betting needs. They've got a great promotion going on right now where new users can sign up with BetMGM and plug in our bonus code ATOZ Sports, and you'll get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. So don't worry about it. Just sign up with BetMGM. If you don't like your current sports book, want to get in the game, or just want to switch up your luck, sign up with BetMGM and sign up with our bonus code ATOZ Sports to get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. They want you to start out in the green. They want you to take home a little money early. That's what keeps you coming back. So download BetMGM and use our bonus code ATOZ Sports.
All right, so here live on this Thursday morning, asking a question: what's the best trait, the best quality that Will Levis has shown in his 6 games for the Tennessee Titans? Jack, I'll send you to the chat, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. If you're watching the show, hit that like button because we need more people to like the show on Facebook and YouTube because that helps the conversation be better. So hit that like button, Jack. The comments to you go. The best quality for Will Levis so far as a Titan.
Yeah, Trey says leadership and arm talent. Curtis says luck. Toughness from John on Facebook. Poise from CJ. Leadership and arm talent. Another great answer from T. Shannon. Accountability from Scott. We saw Levis take accountability after a decent but not good enough performance in the loss to the Colts. Pocket movement. He does have good pocket awareness. IR Hoshi chips in. Toughness from Ryan Kennedy. Leadership from Lewis. His passion, says Guy. Andre, this is becoming a theme. Leadership with Will Levis. You don't often see that in rookies. Will Levis does display some nice leadership back there. Best quality, arm talent, and leadership. Those two are kind of running away with this. Poise from Paul. Leadership from Matt. Accountability from Jaron. Competitiveness from JR. Arm talent from Connor. His conviction from Brad. Accountability from Ashley. Intensity from Patrick. Command of the huddle and accountability from Orlando. So it's more of those intangibles we've been talking about. Arm talent from Billy. I'll stop it here with Chris on Facebook before I get to my answer. Chris says his grit. Now, I do love Will Levis's toughness, but let's thinking of some of the quarterbacks whose best quality is toughness. Derek Carr, really tough, but not a great quarterback. If your best quality is toughness, I feel like you're not fully where you need to be as a player, right? As with efficiency, with arm talent, with accuracy, whatever it may be. If toughness is your best quality as a quarterback, I believe that you might have an underwhelming talent back there under center. With Will Levis, his arm talent is great. I think his best quality is the deep ball. I think over the next few years, Will Levis could evolve into one of the best deep ball passers in the NFL, and I'm dead serious about that. Ladies love the long ball. The deep ball gets me going. It gets the people going, Austin. It puts butts in seats over at Nissan, and it will at the new stadium if Will Levis is still the Titans quarterback when that thing gets built. But to me, it's the deep ball. It's his fearlessness with the football. He's not afraid to let it rip. He'll throw it into double coverage sometimes. He'll trust D-Hop to go make plays, even though the 3rd and 24 pass sailed out of bounds this past week. We've seen him countless times trust D-Hop in jump ball scenarios down the field where he may not be open, but Levis is trying to throw him open and let D-Hop work back to the football. So to me, I believe that his best trait is the deep ball, is his accuracy down the field. I think as time goes on and he gains more trust and a better rapport with some of his weapons, that only improves, and you bring in more talent. We're going to talk about Rand Carthon here in a second, but I thought bringing in DeAndre Hopkins was going to help the Titans make a push for the playoffs. Well, that didn't necessarily go their way, right? But DeAndre Hopkins is absolutely expediting Will Levis's development by, helping him out with some of these routes, helping him out down the field in these deep ball scenarios. I think Will Levis has the potential to be a top 5 deep ball passer in the NFL in a couple of years. I can't wait to see him grow. And that's the next step for this Titans offense is how do you become more explosive? Well, you've got a guy behind center who can really help with that.
So I get what you're saying when you bring up the point about an intangible or a leadership or competitiveness, those type of things being the best quality is not necessarily being a good thing because you want your quarterback to have something physical or mental, I guess, be the best quality. Man, I think I'm okay with me saying that Will Levis's best quality thus far is his fearlessness. Overall, I think it's the fact that he doesn't care. He is willing to do whatever it's going to take for him to be successful as a quarterback, and it's a mental makeup that I think Will Levis has that I truly wasn't expecting to see when the Titans drafted him out of Kentucky. I watched a lot of Kentucky games with Will Levis, and I saw him make crucial turnovers in big situations and games that ended up being losses on Kentucky's record. So, but his mental makeup and fearlessness, I think, is what is allowing him to showcase his physical tools, right? Because without his fearlessness and that mental makeup, maybe we don't see the arm talent. Maybe we don't see the deep ball accuracy that you were saying is his best quality. So I honestly feel like you have to have his mental makeup to have his deep ball accuracy, because you see hesitancy. How many times, Jack, did we hear during the Marcus Mariota era, man, he just needs to let it rip, let it fly, like throw it, like get rid of it, like and trust it. Don't try to aim it, throw it. And I think that's where Levis is benefiting, because I don't know if it's being naive and not knowing any better. If you're young, his press conferences are entertaining because he doesn't know any better of what not to say. He hasn't gotten truly brainwashed by the NFL way of saying words without saying anything meaningful for 15 minutes. So he's telling us good stuff. Like, he's being honest because he hasn't been brainwashed yet. And so I think that's a big deal for the Tennessee Titans if they can continue to harness that fearlessness into a positive manner, because you don't want fearlessness to become recklessness. That's kind of the competitive balance, that you're fearless, that's good, but as soon as it becomes reckless, now you're turning the football over, you're getting hurt, which means you're unavailable. And I think, who else had a really good balance of that? And I'm not comparing the two. I am not comparing Will Levis to Steve McNair. I am not comparing those two quarterbacks in Titans history. I'm not. But Steve McNair had a great fearlessness to recklessness balance. And so far, we've seen that from Will Levis. And Bork brings up Josh Allen. Yeah, Josh Allen has a more reckless than he is fearless too much there.
Yeah, and the chat's also bringing up Jay Cutler, which definitely, falls into that same category as well, where he was just a little too, too reckless. And real quick before I follow up here, so somebody asked in the chat, what was Steve McNair's best trait then, Jack, if it's not toughness? And I think it was his clutch gene. I think every time in a big game where it's tied going down the stretch, or maybe the Titans need a score to win, McNair would always elevate his game and elevate everyone around him. So I think that McNair, while he was the toughest quarterback I think that's ever played the game, I believe his clutch gene was even more impressive from Steve McNair. But where you were hitting on kind of his mental makeup and everything, I do think that for a 24-year-old, he's very advanced upstairs. Like I truly believe that, what he demands from his teammates, what he sees, what he expects out of himself. This isn't like a rookie quarterback from a mental standpoint. It feels like he's been around for a while. There's no play that's too big for him. There's no moment that's too big for him. The fearlessness aspect is absolutely on display week in and week out with Will Levis. So I totally agree with your stance there.
Yeah, and I don't want this to go in the different direction, but I do have an interesting comment from somebody about the difference between Will Levis and a guy that we haven't talked about in quite some time, but we'll do that here in a second. But first, Krebs Kubota is where you should turn for all of your equipment needs. KrebsKubota.com is their website. They are an elite Kubota dealer with 3 great locations across Middle Tennessee, Columbia, Franklin, and Murfreesboro. Krebs Kubota has the best equipment in the industry with the Kubota line. They've also got the best warranties right there. Big or small equipment, if you need a new trimmer for the yard, a new mower, whatever type of mower you need. Maybe you've got a lawn that's on an incline and you don't want to mess around with danger right there, but you also don't want to pay somebody to do that either. So you can just go get Krebs Kubota, and they have the right mower for your right situation. If you just need a piece of equipment for a rental project for the weekend, Krebs Kubota can do that as well. And they thrive on having the best customer service in the area across Middle Tennessee for over 18 years in Columbia, Franklin, and Murfreesboro. Online, KrebsKubota.com.
Check out these guys online at betmgm.com. We've got a great promotion going on right now with them. Sign up, new users, sign up with BetMGM. They're offering a first bet offer with a bonus code ATOZ Sports. You'll get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses, but you don't get access to that unless you sign up with our bonus code A to Z Sports. Then you'll get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. If it hits, that's great. You're already in the green. You're off to a great start. If it misses, BetMGM's got your back. You'll get a second chance to win some money. What other sportsbook is offering that right now? BetMGM with bonus code ATOZ Sports. Get some skin in the game and start winning with our bonus code ATOZ Sports.
All right, so we're talking about the best quality for Will Levis, and we brought up a lot of the attitude comments and how Will Levis approaches the game. And without going down a slippery slope here, we haven't talked about Malik Willis in a long time, right? Jonathan Hernandez says the difference between Malik's attitude and Will's attitude is a breath of fresh air. So, look, I don't think Malik has a bad attitude, right? I think it's a difference of perspective of Will Levis expected to be here. He expected to be in the NFL. And now that he's in the NFL, he is going out and taking that goal further. Like that wasn't getting to the league does not seem to be Will Levis's goal. It's thriving in the league, becoming a franchise quarterback. Where with Malik, it's, hey man, I'm just, happy to wake up today. Today's another day. And as positive as Malik Willis is, as healthy as that can be for many people in the world of just like, hey, let's not, overthink this. We woke up, we have a great chance to go out there and make today good. There's a different level of fire between Will Levis and Malik Willis that I think you have to have at the quarterback position. You have to have fire, but you can't let it get out of control. And so, it's not the fact that Malik has a bad attitude. It's more that Will Levis is showing that his is a benefit, not just an even right now with the Titan situation.
Will Levis has that dog in him, man. Drayden's on top of it right now. He does have that dog factor in him. It's great. He's like a bulldog. I mean, he really is. There's nothing he won't do to help his team win. And like you said, the moment always felt a little too big for Malik Willis, even when it shouldn't, and even when the moment wasn't big. You don't see that with Will Levis. He's not starstruck. He's not caught up in the moment. He's always ready to make a play. And on third downs or in the fourth quarter when you really need it, we've seen him play some of his best football. Still not perfect, still a work in progress, but he's definitely not afraid of the moment.
Yeah. Major Key says, Will Levis ain't got it. He's a Frenchy bulldog. Oh, come on. Like I think like anybody who's watching Will Levis play in the NFL is saying something like Will Levis is not competitive or doesn't have that dog in him or however that you want to go and play into that trend. I think you're just being a hater. And this is coming from me, who has been labeled a Will Levis hater for over a year. So I do think he's got, that type of mentality that can, take him to the next step. Now it's just about how can you harness it, control it, and coach it to be productive.
I mean, Will Levis has played in 6 games as a starting quarterback behind one of the worst offensive lines, if not the worst offensive line in football. And just about everybody across the NFL world has already tabbed him as the second best quarterback to come out of this draft. I mean, that's impressive in its own right? And CJ Stroud's had an incredible season. It's really hard to uproot him. But maybe, with more time, more experience, better weapons, better offensive line, Will Levis maybe evens the playing field with Stroud down the road. But it's pretty impressive after just 6 starts that pretty much the NFL world has anointed Will Levis to be the second best quarterback in the NFL draft when he was drafted in the second round.
Yeah, and you look at now both Tannehill and Will Levis have 6 starts under their belt this season, and the stats are completely different. They have thrown for similar yards. That's fine, right? They've thrown, Will Levis has 1,266 yards. He's got about 140 yards more over 6 games than Ryan Tannehill does. And Ryan Tannehill threw 2 touchdowns to 6 picks, and Levis has 7 touchdowns to 2 picks. Now, if you take Levis's best game out and Tannehill's worst game out, Levis has 3 touchdowns to 2 picks, and Tannehill still has 2 touchdowns to 3 picks, and they've both been sacked 19 times. So I think like you remove the best of Levis and the worst of Tannehill, and Levis has still been better. and more
Very
productive
impressive.
and has, so it is. And look, the Titans are 2-4 in both of their quarterback's 6 starts. So you got to win games, and it's not all on Tannehill. It's not all on Levis to lose games, but still, like, something to kind of keep in mind when you're looking at comparing the two. Will Levis has definitely added an extra layer to this Titans offense that Tannehill was unable to give them because of whatever reason he was messing with that we saw come to a head week 1 in New Orleans. All right, Jack, let's get on to this conversation about 1 year. It's been 1 year since the Tennessee Titans fired Jon Robinson. We have an interesting question to ask you guys here. I'll go ahead and throw up the graphic on the screen. The Tighten Up podcast, you and Austin Huff do a great job, obviously, but your Twitter account has this poll active right now. It's been 1 year today. This was yesterday without Jon Robinson. How would you rate the Titans now? How would you rate the Titans now? Worse, just as bad, slightly better, or much improved? How would you rate the Tennessee Titans now 1 year after Jon Robinson's firing? But first, I'm going to tell everybody about Farm Bureau Health Plans. That's where you should turn for all of your health coverage needs. You know how you get a much improved health plan? You go to fbhp.com/ATOZ, fbhp.com/ATOZ to get started. Farm Bureau Health Plans have served Tennesseans for over 75 years across the entire state with 200 plus locations. Zach Bingham jumped on with Farm Bureau Health Plans over 2 years ago, saved 20% a month on his coverage overall, but got better coverage because of it. So lower rates, better coverage, the best of both worlds, much improved for Zach and his health plan right there with Farm Bureau Health Plan. That's so easy to get started, and they can tailor it to whatever your situation may be at fbhp.com/ATOZ.
Guys, check out BetMGM. There's plenty going on in the sports world right now. It's the perfect time to get some skin in the game. Maybe you can make this Thursday night matchup, this grotesque Thursday night matchup, a little better by jumping in on a prop bet or something with BetMGM. But when you do, make sure to take advantage of our promotion. Use our code A to Z Sports, and you'll get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. Don't sweat it. If you lose that first bet, not a big deal, as long as you plug in our promo code ATOZ Sports. The NBA is in full swing. The NHL is in full swing. College basketball is really getting going. Bowl season is upon us. So it's a great time to download BetMGM and sign up with our promo code ATOZ Sports.
BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older. Tennessee only new customer offer. All promotions, subject to qualification, other requirements. First online real money wager. Only rewards you should not roll bonus bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days and for problem game sport. Call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. Jack, I'll throw the graphic back up here from the Tighten Up Pod Twitter X account. It's been 1 year today, as in yesterday, that Jon Robinson was fired. How would you rate the Titans now? Worse than before, just as bad, slightly better, or much improved? So, Jack, I will send you to the chat. What did everybody say?
Richie starts us off on YouTube with the record says just as bad and proof is in the pudding. This is a results-based business. So, Richie, you're spot on there. Jeff Rubel says just as bad. Stephen King agrees. Orlando also agrees. Just as bad from John. Worse from Troy. Worse from Hello Ladies. Ryan Kennedy on the other side of things, 1,000 times better with Rand in that seat. Obviously worse, says Brian. Derpy says worse, but rebuilding, bad management. Slightly better from Ashley, worse from Brock. Much better direction-wise from Daff. Just as bad for Paul. Worse from Burning Devil. Deshaun agrees. Maniac also says worse. As we move on here, slightly better from Ronnie. Top tier says worse. Just as bad from Matt. Slightly worse. Slightly better. Slightly better. Just as bad from Jesse on YouTube. Slightly better from Darius. Let's see. Continue to go. I'll find one more. Jaron says much improved. Austin, where do you stand on this? I want to hear where you stand first. Do you think the Titans, after 1 year without Jon Robinson, are in a better spot or in a worse spot? Or did they stay the same?
I've been thinking about this, and man, I'm truly gonna have to talk through my answer here, because should I, this is me thinking out loud, Jack, if you want to be the devil or the angel, you can pick which shoulder you want to be on. Should I hold the Titans off-season marketing ploy against them of we're trying to win, right? Like we're gonna win, we're going for the AFCs. Like that was not the reality, but that was their sales pitch. And that wasn't from like the season ticket salespeople. That's from the football people. The football people is we're trying to win this year. So should I hold that against them in this discussion here? Because if I do hold that against them, it drastically changes my answer here. Because if it was an understood this is a rebuild year, then I'm looking at this of where are they in a building block moving forward. And so I'm getting answers to that question. Darren says yes. Darren says they need to be honest. Orlando says, yes, they gave everybody hope. Andre says, absolutely Austin held the Titans back. And Alex says, that was dumb. Set this team back another year. So, and look, they were not going to cut Ryan Tannehill because I saw that come up here that, you should have cut Tannehill. Nate, if we cut Tannehill, invest in the O-line and started Levis, the record would be better. If you cut Ryan Tannehill, you still would have had the same amount of salary cap to make it better than you did without cutting Ryan Tannehill. The dead cap on Tannehill was a detriment to the entire situation. And that's not Ryan Tannehill's fault either. That's Julio Jones' acquisition and restructure and all that. So to flash the options back up here on the graphic, worse, just as bad, slightly better. Because the Titans tried to sell us a playoff goal, I'm going to say the Titans are just as bad. They're not worse than before because there is a hope of future, but they are just as bad because the plan collapsed right there in their face. Ryan Tannehill was bad early. Andre Dillard was atrocious that made Ryan Tannehill worse. And then you just had things falling apart. Christian Fulton in a contract year had to be better, was awful. So my official answer, Jack, the Titans are just as bad.
I think
1 year after Jon Robinson.
I think you made an important distinction when you brought up the expectations because, look, we're just a little over a year and a half removed from the Titans securing the number 1 seed in the AFC. Last year, the expectations were high, and you got off to that 7-3 start. There was plenty of expectations to repeat and do more damage in the playoffs. Tannehill got hurt. That dream fell apart, and the Titans lost their last 7 games. This season, they did try and sell us on a dream that the AFC South was possible. You go out and make moves. You bring D-Hop in, which, to a lot of the fans says, hey, they are going to be competitive. They are trying to upgrade their wide receiver room and go for this thing. But to me, this question is about now. It's not about the future. I absolutely agree with you. The Titans are better set up for the future right now than they were last year under J-Rob's command. I think that Rand Carthon's first draft class had a lot to do with that. With hits like Skoronski, Levis, we'll still see, jury's still out on him. Tajay Spears looks really good. Josh Wiley's been a contributor. Jalen Duncan has, not performed well, but has, found a role on this Titans team, drafted on day 3 from the Titans. But to me, I think that I'm looking at this question a little bit differently than you. I'm looking at it through the lens of a Titans fan. And Austin, this year has been probably the most frustrating season of Titans football since Ken Wisenhunt was in charge. We're in a bad spell the last 20 games. I think they've won 4 or 5 games in the last 20. And that's just unacceptable. I think the Titans right now are worse than they were with Jon Robinson. As a fan, I'm not having a whole lot of fun turning on the TV on Sunday. Like, I love doing our game day shows, Austin, but when the Titans have the football and the lights are on, it's ugly and it's hard to watch at times. This is the worst product that I've seen the Titans play since Ken Wisenhunt was in charge. And let's go by the numbers here. DVOA is a stat that measures efficiency. The Titans are right around the same. Like, they're 23rd this year in DVOA compared to 24th last year. not a big change. Where I have my issues is the one-score games. They lost 6 games by 1 score in 2022. They've already lost 5 games by 1 score, and they're bound to lose more down the stretch here. So that's an area where the Titans have to win. The Titans' identity when everything's going well is toughness, winning in the trenches, and finding a way to win close games, going on the road to beat superior teams. We've seen them do this. We held them to that standard last year. This year, they haven't been able to put any of that together. I think because I'm not turning on the TV and seeing a competitive product, more often than we've been used to, that I think the Titans are worse off this year. But I do understand the future is a little bit brighter now with a rookie class that you can kind of hang your hat on. But right now, I think the Titans are in a worse spot than they were last year. They're not competitive in some of these games.
What games have they truly been not competitive in? Jacksonville, Tampa
Bay. Let me pull up the schedule because Cleveland was a blowout.
I think that's it. I think.
Yeah, you're probably right. That is the 3 games. I mean, Baltimore, they had to really scratch and claw to make that a one-score game.
But it was still competitive. Like they were right there in London.
They lost by 20 to the Jags.
Yeah, the Jags, Tampa, and Cleveland. It's those 3. And Borks is soon to be Miami. Yeah,
and they got Miami coming, yeah. Which is a convenient time for Christian Fulton to find a hamstring injury. I will say that's a business decision.
Yeah, overtime, a 1st and goal from the 5 is a convenient time for Christian Fulton to have.
Terrible. Poor Christian.
And Fulton. So Trey says, there are 4 games they could have won if surefire TD passes were caught. Yeah, true.
The Saints game was the most winnable of the year. I mean, everything went wrong in that Saints game, and they still
the damn Colts game, they should have won if they could make an extra point.
Mm-hmm.
Even with all the other disaster, still should have won that game 26-25. Now, look, the Colts would have played that very differently after that if it was down by 1 instead of tied. But yet, and then Trey brings up the Steelers game. The Steelers game was absolutely winnable. The Saints, no doubt about that. Both Colts games, he says. So, and that's the NFL, though, right? The NFL is the fact that you lose or win 1-score games, and that's about it.
The chat's on they've got a good point, and I'll pull up a few of these comments. Coaching has lost several of those games. Coaches' adjustments has kind of cost the Titans. We've seen that in a few different comments from a few different people in the chat. And I will say that since Vrabel took over, this is probably the one season where coaching has made the biggest difference in a negative way. I do think the Titans have given some games away in which they should have won if simple adjustments had been made, simple tweaks. They can't figure out, which buttons to press where, from 2019 to 2022, it really felt like, or through halfway through the 2022 season, the Titans coaching staff was pushing all the right buttons usually, well, aside from Todd Downing. But this year, coaching has hurt them more than it has helped them. Is that on Rand Carthon? Absolutely not. So that's another aspect we have to kind of throw into this thing.
Sure. All right, a couple of comments here I want to get to about this. Trying to figure out where the Titans are moving forward and the foundation that they do have. That is the good thing of cleaning up the job that Jon Robinson left 1 year after being fired. I'll talk about a cleanup job that went pretty well at my house last week, and that was by Chim Chimney, one of our great partners on the Titan Game Day live shows this entire season. Chim Chimney is where you should turn for all of your chimney and fireplace needs. They do the job right the first time, and they did that at my house last week when they came by to check out the new place, the new fireplace, to make sure that we could start with the new gas logs and get things cozy, nice, and warm for this cold winter. And chim-chimneyinc.com is where to go. I thought the coolest thing about Chim Chimney is that when they were on the way to my house, I got the call, right? Hey, we're on the way. But I also got a link, and I got to track exactly how far away they were. So I got to continue to go to work. I got to do my meetings, and I knew exactly, he's 5 minutes away, start prepping the house and all that kind of stuff for him to come in and get the job done. And really honestly help us out, because it wasn't about trying to find problems to charge us to fix. It was trying to find problems that we needed to fix to make sure that when we have a fire in our fireplace, it is safe. And when we have crazy weather outside, that our chimney is in a good spot overall. So Chim Chimney doing the right job the first time. So check them out at chim-chimneyinc.com. Don't forget those dryer vents, some of those flammable things in your house, chim-chimneyinc.com.
You can trust Chim Chimney just like you can trust BetMGM. If you want to get some skin in the game, you want to start sports betting, or maybe you just want to switch up your luck and change sports books, BetMGM is your home for sports betting. Download the app, sign up with our bonus code A to Z Sports, and you'll get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. It's a great offer. They've got plenty of selection. It's easy to navigate. There's great future bets up at all times on BetMGM. Some stuff you won't find elsewhere. They've got it all. So make sure you sign up using our promo code A to Z Sports to take advantage of this great offer where you get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses, only at BetMGM.
All right, so some chats here as we're talking about the cleanup job the Titans have done. So we both think that they're either just as bad or maybe worse than they were a year ago. Andre says he gives a C- overall. Good draft and DeAndre Hopkins. Not much to work with, but some bad decisions made some areas worse. Dillard, David Long Jr. leaving, Fant not being brought in, Aaron Brewer rode the fence on that decision. I heard Mike Herndon talk with you guys on the Tighten Up podcast this week about Aaron Brewer. Aaron Brewer, really good at run blocking, really bad in pass protection. So it's kind of a feast or famine there with that $2 steak Aaron Brewer, who is, as Mike Herndon put it, just being a mediocre pass blocker away from potentially being a top 10 center.
That's how good he is at run blocking.
Yeah.
He's that good where he just has to be mediocre in the pass game. And then you have a top 10 center. You know, if he can get the snaps under control as well, that's been an issue at times this year in key situations. But yeah, obviously, if Aaron Brewer can round out his game, he's going to be an asset moving forward.
Yeah. And so I think that's Andre's chat. Then Rooney says, Buck said, have to get rid of the rot when talking about Rice. So true. And I think Monty Rice situation and getting rid of the rot. Yeah. And I think Jeffrey Simmons had it and said it after the London game, something along the lines of, if we have players that don't want to be here, then we need to figure that out so we can make those changes. And Mike Vrabel echoed that sentiment of get rid of that rot if there is rot. Identify it and then get the hell out of here. And maybe that was Monty Rice. And I think it's interesting that Mike Vrabel was asked about Monty Rice, and he just was like, yeah, it didn't work out. So Monty will go somewhere else and find another opportunity, but didn't work out here. And I think I don't necessarily think Monty Rice is going to have it work out anywhere else if that's the attitude that he's going to continue to approach his professional career with. But a lot of talent with Monty Rice, but he was definitely looks to be part of the rot. And how you allow a backup linebacker to be a part of the rot, you know, all it takes is one bad grape to start ruining the whole batch that you got from the grocery store. And Michael says that Vrabel is the rot.
Okay.
Andre,
well, look.
Vrabel could very well be the rot.
There's plenty of reasons to be upset with Mike Vrabel. When we're talking about Monty Rice, another major J-Rob draft disappointment where, you know, you let David Long, who was nice when he was on the field for the Titans, you let him walk, and you believe Monty Rice is the heir apparent there, and he completely lets you down. It just feels like whenever the Titans needed a J-Rob draft pick to step up and fill a void, they were never capable of doing so. And that became such a trend that the Titans had to cut ties with them.
Yeah. David Long Jr. is brought up right there. And then Tighten Up Tony says, and Jayon Brown. Like, well, I think Jayon Brown's body failed him. Like Jayon Brown's, it ran its course, unfortunately, because Jayon's a good dude and played a lot of good football here. But, you know, that happens. And so I think overall, when we're looking at the cleanup job, one full year after Jon Robinson's firing, you have to look at the foundation being set up for the future. And I think the good thing about it is you can point to this rookie draft class and say, I see it being built. I can see the game plan, right? Peter Skoronski, a foundational piece in the offensive line, looks like he's going to be a hit. Is he an all-pro ceiling? I don't know. But he's at least a pretty damn good, reliable piece you can count on in the interior for a long time. Will Levis has shown the capability of being a game-changing running back. Tajay Spears in the third round clearly is a game changer when he has the reps and opportunities as a running back. Then you go into Josh Wiley. I like him. He has a lot to grow, but I like what Josh Wiley has shown. Jalen Duncan, see Josh Wiley, Colton Dowell, special teams positive to this point. So that 6 offensive draft picks so far, you're seeing 5 of them have significant roles, and the other guy, 7th rounder, having a game day role where a previous draft pick in the 5th round is inactive because of Colton Dowell and Kyle Phillips.
Yeah, totally with you there. It was a great class. It looks to be, I should say, a great class from Ran Carthon, and that's how you build moving forward. But really, Ran Carthon's not going to be judged on his first draft class at the end of the day. The Titans they want to get back to playoff relevancy. How do you do that? You go out and you make the most of your free agency period with all this money they have, that $90+ million that they've got in their pocket. How does he spin that? Because not missing on the draft is one thing, but when you go out and spend, $15 million a year on a certain player to help you out in a position you really need him, that player also has to hit. Those misses are going to hold you back more than draft misses will. So Ran Carthon, while it's hard to really critique him from his first season, although the Andre Dillard signing is a black eye on his resume early, he's going to be judged on what he does over the next 6 months, right? And up through the summer, really, through training camp. So we'll see how he does in free agency, but that's going to be the determining factor on whether or not the Titans can get back to a spot where they feel like they can compete in a very competitive AFC.
Yeah, Tyler Tony's comes back and says J-Rob's first class was great.
2019, probably the best draft class the Titans ever had.
Well, first class was great. The last 3 are poverty. And we talked about this yesterday with Sam and I. And the first class, it was Jack Conklin, who was good here, had injuries up and downs. And I don't want to revisit the lack of picking up the 5th-year option. The Titans made the right move there in that situation. From that 2016 class, you got Derrick Henry and Kevin Byard. You also got some good role players like Jayon Brown, and I believe Tajay Sharp came from that class as well, who immediately improved your wide receiver group until you were able to draft over it. Then in 2017, Corey Davis, Dory Jackson, you could have been better there, but overall, you were solid in that class. And then in 2018, 2019, you get guys like Harold Landry, Big Jeff, AJ Brown. The 2019 class was just like all hits besides DeAndre Walker.
Cruikshank in the 5th in 2018 was a nice pick.
For sure. And so then you build that, and then you had the collapse of the last 3 drafts, 2020, 21, and 22, where Roger McCreary is really the only redeeming quality that you can lean on moving forward for this team. And look, any team building is all about how you recruit and how you draft. Whether you're in college or you're in the pros, you have to stack classes on top of one another. And you've got to be able to deal with a hit rate that's going to be good enough consistently to give you year-over-year success. Like, it took Kirby Smart a few years to get Georgia to be back-to-back national champions because he was getting like 3 consecutive number 1 recruiting classes. If anybody wants to try to compete in college football, you have to have 3 or 4 consecutive top 5 recruiting classes. If you don't, there's a hole in it in the game. There's a hole in the roster. In the NFL, if you have 3 really good drafts in a row, maybe you go to the AFC Championship game in 2019. But then you have 3 ugly-ass drafts in a row, and that leaves you with 5 wins and 15 losses in a 20-game stretch. That's literally cause and effect.
Yeah, a couple comments I want to get to here. Let's get to super chat. Coaching. You have to game plan around your weakness. Apparently, we can't self-scout very well. That is important, to know your weakness and then find a way to mask that weakness think the Titans have struggled in that department this year. Another thing, back to the free agency discussion. J-Rob signed Vic Beasley. It wasn't just Vic Beasley, although that may be the worst signing that he made. Jadeveon Clowney didn't pan out. Julio Jones was a failure. I mean, he missed in big areas where Titans desperately needed these players to hit. And Bud Dupree, like you can miss in the draft and still be okay as long as you bring in vets that can, fill the void. But you can't miss.
We just listed one position. Both. That was one position.
Yeah, just an edge rusher. Well, Julio Jones as well on offense.
Yeah,
right?
Fair.
You can't miss in the draft and free agency. If you miss in the draft, you got to hit in free agency. If you miss in free agency, you got to hit in the draft. I'm looking for the day where the Titans can hit in both. Maybe that's this upcoming season. We'll see.
All right, another super chat before we move over here. Andre says, need X's and O's schematic coach, not a rah-rah motivator. Vrabel let strong coaches leave. Pease and Schwartz, defensive head coach with bad defense. Too many yes men. I mean, Dean Pease retired. Like, come on. And then Jim Schwartz is a different situation.
Great job.
Like, yeah.
And I also don't really view Vrabel as a rah-rah guy. He's strictly business most of the time. I understand he can get his team fired up when he needs to, but he doesn't. I don't know if I would classify him as a rah-rah guy.
Mike Vrabel is a CEO type head coach.
Yeah, strictly business. Suit and tie, Jack Del Rio fit. That's how I think Mike Vrabel likes to think.
He's modern day CEO, which is not suit and tie. It's it's just the laid back, nice fitness gear. All right, so let's go ahead, Jack, and get to the Magic Bucket like we do every Thursday on the show. Magic Bucket time. Let's get it right. Shout out Wilson County Hyundai, our friends in Lebanon. Go make them a part of your new car buying process. It's the perfect time to get a new car this time of year, the end of the year. They had this inventory sitting there just waiting for you to come by and scoop it up for a great price. Go see Payne Bone and his team in Lebanon online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Jack, I have the Magic Bucket here. We had planned on, I think after the show today, we're going to go through your list of Magic Bucket things.
Let's do it.
Ready for next week, right? So this
pretty
is
diabolical. I'm excited for you to lay your eyes on these.
Yeah. After our post-game show at Acme on Sunday, we were going back and, because we carpool because we're environmentally friendly and we don't want to pay $100 in parking.
We don't take private jets around the city like Taylor Swift and some of these other people.
Yeah. And Yeah. If we didn't carpool, it would legitimately be $100 in parking down there. So that makes all the sense, right? So all right. So we'll have those ready. So bucket time. Here we go. This one's going to be for me first, if I can balance this. Oh, you know what? Damn, I haven't done the soul patch.
Ooh, that's fun.
Okay, tomorrow I'll combine these two. I will draw a soul patch while
I think you don't have to grow one. I think an all-natural soul patch would be good for next Thursday if you get that thing going a little bit.
I was planning on shaving this weekend, but maybe I'll shave today and just leave that.
I'd love to see an all-natural soul patch from you. That would be fantastic. With
sunglasses?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Spike your hair. Maybe get a little bomber jacket.
Hey. Not too far. Yeah, let's do two things. Golly. All right, this one's for Jack. Don't you have to tie a tie as well?
Yeah, I can bring one in here. I don't know how. I forgot to YouTube it. How about we postpone that to next Thursday as well? Because I'll come ready.
Okay. This is a good payoff. And Jason says, Austin, you have done the soul patch before. No, I haven't. I forgot. So now I have to do it again. And also I'm doing a double. All right, Jack, just for the immediate payoff, you have to give us your best fart noise with your mouth.
I've already done that.
Have you?
Yeah, I've done that.
Dang it. This is why we're going to have all these new ones coming up next week. You've done the alphabet as fast as you can. That one needs to go in the trash. Everybody's done it. All right. Okay. Here's what we got to do. You did this. I get to flip it back on you. As many team mascots as you can, right?
Okay.
I'll let you pick the league. We can't do the SEC because we just did that on my side. Name as many team mascots as you can in 30 seconds. I will let you pick the league. Now, quickly. Don't be trying to game plan.
No, I'm not. I'm trying to think of the league.
I need a league in the next 10 seconds.
Okay.
8.
Okay.
7, 6,
Hmm.
5, 4, 3.
Big
2.
Ten.
Okay. All right. Let me bring up the Big Ten mascot names.
Kind of regretting that.
And my clock. All right. Yes. Remember my location for a day, Google. Damn. All right. I've got the Big Ten mascot names ready. I will start my 30-second clock when you say the first mascot name.
Okay. This is going to be bad. Okay, I'll start. Brutus. The Nittany Lion. I don't even know if it has a name. Sparty, the Spartan from Michigan State. Other Big Ten schools. Wisconsin's got the Badger. What's his name? Benny the Badger. Continue. Nebraska, I don't think that they even have one. Michigan definitely doesn't have one. Other ones, Wisconsin, Iowa State. They don't. Do the Cyclones have one?
Iowa
I don't know.
State's in the Big 12.
Oh, that's right. Iowa, though. I don't know that Iowa has one. I picked the hardest league, I think. Northwestern, Wally. Yeah.
You did get 3 correct. So the 3 you got correct were Bucky Badger, Nittany Lion, and Sparty.
Brutus?
I'm sorry, Brutus the Buckeyes. Which
Okay, I didn't get the Badger.
You said a different B name. So you got 3 right: Brutus, Nittany Lion, and then Sparty. The ones you missed are the Boilermaker Special.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't even know. Oh, wait, that's a bonus one. Bucky the Badger, as I mentioned. Goldie the Gopher. Herbie Husker.
So they do have one in Nebraska.
Yep. Herky the Hawk. Herky the Hawk. That's Iowa.
These are hard.
Then you got Lil Red is actually Nebraska's too. Purdue Pete. Testudo is the Maryland Terp. And then Willie the Wildcat.
Well, I said Wally. I came close.
Yeah.
That was just a guess. Okay.
So
well, those are definitely the hardest. That's definitely the hardest league. Although
and not all teams are represented.
I know. Michigan doesn't have one. So
no Michigan, no Rutgers. I'm sure there's a Scarlet Knight. It's just not listed. This might be an old, outdated list. Regardless, you still got 3. So
yeah, that was tough. I made it hard on myself. I shouldn't have picked the Big Ten.
Yeah, well, it's okay.
All right. Well, next week I'm tying a tie for the people. So
yeah,
the show will get back on the road.
All right, guys, that'll do it for us. And because of our Magic Bucket fails, you all get 40% off all of our merch at shop.a2zsportsnashville.com. Please buy our stuff at shop.a2zsportsnashville.com to get 40% off because Zach and I don't want to have this in our houses. I think we got it to the end of the year. So we're getting down there on having to get this stuff out of here before we have to host it as our merch is moving. So please buy our stuff so we don't have to have it in the garage. And like the show before you go, like Devin said earlier, what are you doing holding out? What are you doing holding out with that like? Just hit that like button for us. Yeah, nothing else to do. Hit the like button on Facebook and YouTube before you head out the door. And we'll see you guys tomorrow on a Friday. Appreciate it as always.